Dream big, work hard. Success stories from top serial entrepreneurs.
So I'm very honored to have Jamie and Rob on stage. And if you're not familiar with them, they're both very inspirational. If you go to their social media, you can search their names. They do a lot of great things in their fields, and they put a lot out there for the world. Rob has an amazing podcast, and I know he has much more than that, but your podcast is very inspirational. Jamie is involved in tech, and he has huge clients in the industry that he has transformed their business. And what I love about both of them is that regardless of what they do, they want to make a difference. And that's the beauty about it. So I'm honored to have you as my guest. Flew all the way
Thank
here. You're welcome. So let me start by throwing it this way, because the panel before this was a women empowerment panel, right? And I always say this, and women hate it when I say this. I say the reason the world is a man's world is because of women. Because women raise girls to sit at home and do nothing and wait for Prince Charming. And then they raise the man to go out there and do things, and that he's going to have a woman that's going to take care of him. And then when the men grow up, they don't want their daughters to work or their kids to work or anything. And when the women grow up, they don't want to do anything. They just want the man to come. But men don't make it easy as well. So before we dive into what you do and all that, I just want to hear your feedback when it comes to something like this as men, and how are you supportive when it comes to that? Can we put the mic on? All right. Go.
So for myself, 50% of my leadership team are women. So I empower women a lot. I'm in the sales industry as well. So sales is a male-dominated industry. And a lot of women struggle to get into sales because they think it's so male-dominated.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is to not look at a perception of an industry and empower people to be successful in it. I do believe a man's role is to take a hold of things and be the breadwinner in the family. I do believe in that. But I also believe in changing perception in everything that we do. Industry, whatever it is, it comes down to a CEO and an entrepreneur to make that happen. And it's something like, I don't tick a box to hire. Gender, doesn't matter where they come from, what walk of life. For me, it's who sits in front of me. The energy that sits in front of me is what I select from. So I've got 50% of my leadership team are women because they earned that job.
So you are changing the perception because you're not only thinking of it, you're applying it in your company.
It's key, and I don't do it to tick a box to look good. I do it to.
I mean, they're really good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
But it's to create an equal opportunity, and that's what I'm huge about.
I love that. I think that's great. What about you, Rob?
So I think there's such a divided world right now between the left and the right, and good and evil, and wars between nations, and there seems to be the same between men and women. And you've got like Andrew Tate over here who's hyper man. I think they're the wrong conversations. I think the conversation should be about individualism. Because I know some very powerful women who can sit in strong masculine energy, like make me feel quite feminine. And then sometimes, you know, a powerful woman, I think, can have masculine and feminine energies in a moment.
Yeah.
You know, if you're, for example, married to someone, I'm married to someone who at times can humbleize me or give me strong criticism in a very male energy, and that can be the energy I need in that moment. So likewise, I'm not really about male and female, I'm about individuals. We actually have 60% women that work for us. I have about 140 staff in total, 60% are women. I find when we go to 70% women, it gets a bit too much. When we get to 70% men, it's definitely too much. So I think it's about embracing individualism as opposed to what your sex is. Who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, no, it's true. Because, you know, I believe women and men don't compete, they complete each other. I know as a woman, there are things I cannot do. And a man knows that as a man, there are things he cannot do and a woman can do. So that's the beautiful marriage of like powers and all combined together. And I love the fact you're saying you accept your wife giving you criticism, because a lot of men
I don't always, just like to let you know.
But a lot of men have ego. They don't accept that.
Well, I mean, the way to grow is to be criticized on your flaws and failings so you can improve them.
Yeah.
And you were talking about ego. Ego hates criticism.
Yeah.
Ego wants praise. So if you always follow praise, all you're doing is being edified on what you can already do,
Yeah.
which might not actually be that good. The person that can humbleize you the most in your life as a man is your wife.
Yeah.
Therefore, she has the power to also give you the feedback to be the strongest that you can be. So as a people-pleasing, conflict avoider growing up, I related to all that. I had to learn to walk into criticism, embrace it and get excited about it like I would praise, and know that it's good for me, even if that wall of ego in the moment doesn't like it. You know, a lot of people in the entrepreneur world say, you know, hang around all these people who support you. No, don't. It's the worst thing ever. You need people who will say, look, Rob, that's wrong. You know, you're better than that, or you're doing the wrong thing, because that's the only way you grow.
I love criticism. And I feel like when people give me feedback, it's free marketing for me. Yeah. Tell me more. How can I improve? How can I grow?
People pay tens of thousands of pounds for therapy coaches and mentors. So if you can just take criticism, everyone will just give it to you for free.
100%. What about you, Jamie? Do you accept criticism? How do you feel like?
So I've always had criticism since I was growing up. My dad was my biggest critique. And it comes back to maybe like a trauma point, and what drove me is probably him, because he was my role model. So when my role model let me down and was criticizing in the schools and the list goes on, it was on me to create who I wanted to be. Like, we are the creators, right? Yeah. And how we're born was a certain way, but what we create is on us at the end of the day. So criticism has drove me to where I've got to today. But it's something that I look to improve on, I thrive with, because a lot of people will hate or criticize what you're doing, but if you stay on that path of your journey, then anything becomes possible.
I believe in this. But also, like, I've met billionaires, and they don't mind taking criticism. They love it. They're like, tell me more. How am I doing it? How should I do it? It doesn't make them weak or less of who they are. It just makes them so humble and open, because they want to learn. Yeah. They want to grow.
Like, my biggest form of learning is working with coaches. So I work with 7 coaches. I didn't do well at school. Academically, I wasn't great. I like working with coaches because I like to be told what to do. Yeah. I want to understand, and I won't work with like a fluffy coach. I want to work with someone who's direct, who's honest, who gives me feedback that can improve me to make me a better person. Yeah. And that's huge for me. And that's what's got me to where I am today.
Yeah. But also, if you don't like criticism, that means even your friends that are around you are fake, because you don't want them to tell you the truth. You're just in it for praise and all that and everything. Leaving that topic aside, I want to dive now deeper into, well, the reason I started with these questions is because I wanted you to get to know them as characters first, what they stand for, how they are, and break the ice. And now I'm going to go into your lives and your accomplishments and how you made it happen. Because a lot of the people here, they want to be entrepreneurs. Or maybe they are entrepreneurs thriving to go to the next point in their life. Or they're successful and they want to get more successful. How did you start your journey, Jamie? And what made you go in the industry you went to? And just explain the industry as well.
Don't know how honest you want me to be.
Very honest.
Lie to us, please, Jamie.
There's a lie detector attached to the chair.
I got knocked back quite a lot as a kid by my dad. I then inherited a stutter. I had low confidence, low self-esteem. I got kicked out of school at the age of 14. I was always told you won't be successful. My first sales job I got into told me I wouldn't be great at sales. So that was like the turning point of me thinking, okay, what do I do? I then interviewed at 30 different companies in my industry. They all said no, low confidence, do not believe you'll be good at sales, the list goes on. I said to my mum one day, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to create something out of our family. I then got into the industry that I'm in today, which is tech consulting within projects and staffing. Since then, I become number one what I did in sales within the UK. I gained confidence, I gained self-esteem, I gained that from the recognition and the wins, and I got rid of my stutter. I may look confident now, but I was the utter opposite to confident, which then led me to think I want to grow more. I wasn't growing within my company, so at the age of 22, I set up my first business. I wanted growth, I wanted more, I wanted to do more. I think I could do it bigger and better than my company, which I did. We've grew and grew. 8 years on, we're a global organisation, 4 offices worldwide. Last year, I was awarded Great British Entrepreneur of the Year for Great Britain and also for my industry. So when I'm now on a path of, like Sara says, the inner work, the journey, the focusing on me, my biggest turning point was me. My biggest problem and setback was me. When I focused more on me, I started revolutionizing my whole journey, my whole success and everything I wanted to do. So now my goal is to inspire and impact other people through the same sort of strategies that I've learned. But, you know, I'm 31 now. I've got so much more that I want to do. And, you know, I'm excited for what's to come.
No, I remember when me and Jamie were once chatting on Instagram. And you don't hear a man always saying, hey, I want to, because I have a healing business, like a healing retreat as well. When Jamie reached out as a man, usually women reach out to me, and he was like, I want to do the work. And it's so refreshing to see men open to this, being vulnerable, because you want to be the best, not only for you, for your family, for the people you work with. You want to just live life the way you deserve to live, right? And this is where I had so much respect for you as a man, because you were so open to it. So no, I love the fact that you're on that journey, and I'm so proud of everything you have done. Rob.
Thank you.
How did your story start? The truth.
The truth.
Yes.
So when I was 6, my dad started getting me working in his pub, which would be illegal now, but I loved it back then. And I didn't really want to do school. I just wanted to work for my dad. He would buy pubs and clubs and bars. He'd have a big wad of cash in his pocket, and I just wanted to be my dad. And then school comes along and you're supposed to study, and girls come along and you get really distracted over there. And then all of a sudden I'm 25, nearly 26, I'm £50,000 in debt. I've got about 10 credit cards. I've got loans on loans on loans. I'm probably a couple of weeks away from going bust. I'm working in my dad's pub, not happy, not going anywhere in my life. And I haven't got the crazy story of, you know, major trauma. It just crept up on me. You know, I earned £200 a week, but I spent £300 a week. And then you look back and you're like, where did my life go? And it just crept up really slowly, and that was me. And then I was working in his pub. It was winter, December, freezing, and he was carving the meats in his carvery pub, and he just had this huge nervous breakdown in front of everyone. It came out of nowhere. He started spitting, convulsing, screaming, shouting. I managed to pull him out of the pub at the front. There were about 80 customers in the pub. It was a very family-run business, so they're all friends. They all knew my dad intimately. And he's having this like attack, and no one knew what to do. My dad's really big, so I managed to get him outside of the pub. The police were called because he had the carving knife. They beat him up, they tied him up in front of me, my mum, my sister, all the customers watching. They picked him up like a rug, 2 of them, and they threw them in the back of this reinforced police van. They sectioned him, arrested him, and they didn't let us see him for months. And my dad had been this hero of mine. I'd always wanted to be like him. You know, I wanted to own property because my dad owned property. I own 345 properties now because I'm still wanting to prove to my dad, look at all these properties I'm buying. So I know that the gift it's given me. But that was a humiliating time because I felt so powerless. I watched him getting kicked by young policemen, powerless to do anything. So I experienced a lot of shame and guilt and blaming myself. My dad had put me through school, university, first car, first house, put himself in a lot of debt to try and give me every chance in life, and I felt like I'd squandered it. And on the outside, I probably had a chip on my shoulder, but on the inside, I was just in a lot of pain, and I just didn't think I could do anything very well. So anyway, that was December 2005. February 2006, I'd managed to find a job in a property consulting firm. By the end of that year, I'd paid off my 50 grand debt. I nearly earned 100 grand. Not quite. I was a bit annoyed because I wanted to. And I went into business with one of the guys that worked there. We now have 345 properties that we own. We have a management firm in our city that manages 1,350. I've written 19 books on business and real estate investing and stuff. I've got this podcast that has about 200 million downloads and views a year. The best achievement in my life was when my parents were forced to quit their pub with about 1 year of living expenses left in their 50s. I retired them, got them a house, got them a car, because of what I was able to achieve in business. I broke the world record for the longest public speech, which was pretty fun, 47 and a half hours straight talking, which my wife reminds me I'm not as good at listening, and I don't have the world record of listening. And he's 31, I'm now 45 plus taxes, so, yeah.
You know what I love? I mean, if they both sat here and they said, listen, we have this, you cannot relate to them. But when they spoke about the pain they went through, we've all been through pain. And that's the way we connect. But him going through stuttering and fighting and people telling me he's not going to do it and he did it. And then him going through everything he went through. This just shows you that you are the writer, the director, the author of your movie. What are you doing about it? You can rewrite your story. You are the one that has the permission. You are the one that can do these things. You don't have to wait for someone to do them for you. No one did it for Rob. No one did it for Jamie. They did it for themselves. And it was a breaking point where they had to get up and do something about it. And that's what I love. Is you're connecting with people by being vulnerable. And not everybody can be vulnerable. And I want to know, what is the one advice someone gave you and has changed your life, Jamie?
Rob, you can go first.
Jamie, take the time to think. Rob.
Well, at the end of every piece of content I've ever done, which is thousands of pieces of content online, I have this quote that's my own, but I've clearly learned it from someone smarter than me. I've just made it a phrase, which is, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. And I would say along the journey, the advice that people have given me that served me the most, whether it's the 22 billionaires I've interviewed or just the cool, interesting people I've met along the way, is, on the other side of fear is everything that you're looking to achieve in your life. And the biggest risk is staying comfortable and staying within this so-called comfort zone. For example, people think that starting a business is the risk. I think staying in the job you don't love is the risk, especially with inflation, how much it is. So, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. And no one, and we all know this, no one regrets the chances they tried and failed. Everyone regrets the things they know they should have done 20 years ago and didn't. Whether it's the girl they didn't go and speak to, or the business they didn't go and start, or the conversation they didn't go and start. Or, for example, with me, I always was quite late to social media. I wanted to see everyone else figure it out first. I didn't want to risk going on social media and not having many views. And so even though I've got 3 million odd followers now, it could have been 30 million if I'd have started YouTube and podcasting and Instagram and TikTok when I wanted to. But I was always scared of going live and having no viewers. The thing is, if you go live and you have no viewers, no one fucking saw. Yeah. So it doesn't actually matter. It's 100%. Not like, there's no shame in no one seeing anything. Yeah. So it's this weird paradox. You're scared of people judging your content or your lack of views. If they don't see it, they don't see it.
No, but also at day one, you had 3 followers when you first started.
Yeah, my mum, my dad.
Yeah. So, but even me, I have 1.4. But when I started day one, I had 3, 4, and I went live and I did these things and no one was watching. But to be honest, if one person is watching and you can change one person's life,
well, you can only change the world one person at a time.
Exactly. 100%. No, I love that. That's so true. But see, fear is an illusion. We are the ones that stop ourselves. Well, there's no one stopping us.
The thing with fear is, it's essentially imagination, and imagination isn't real. Fear is just negative imagination. And we all know the quotes, 99% of the things you worry about never actually exist. Every time I feel something that's scary, when the brain takes over to create scenarios, I know that 99 times out of 100, that's fictitious.
Fiction.
Yeah, fear
But-
is fiction. There you go.
but also-
that could be a quote for you. Fear is fiction.
There you go. It's yours now. Can't steal it now, Rob. No, but I feel like, yes, fear is an illusion. And the problem is when we fear something, we imagine. And the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination or something that actually happened.
Yeah.
So when you have fear, you live something that didn't actually happen. Why would you put yourself through that? And I'd rather go ahead and have a painful experience to find out whether I can get the thing done or not than to sit and say what if and regret not doing things. You know, and this is what I mean when I say you have to live and not just exist. A lot of people are robots, they're just existing.
Yeah, imagine most of the time living your life in your mind and not in reality.
Sad.
You know, when you're sitting talking to someone, you can see they've gone into their mind and they're not present with you. These fears that you create, the stories in your mind, take you away from the present moment of being in this situation. And I think a lot of us can live 8 hours a day in our own mind. Therefore, we're not actually experiencing life. So we're going to get to the end of our life, and 8 out of every 10 hours of life, we lived in our own head, imagining scary things that didn't even become real. That, to me, is madness.
It is. If you think about it logically, it is madness. But what do you think, Jamie? What's the advice? And then give us your feedback about what we just said, about fear.
So I remember when I went back home, when I was interviewing with all these companies, and I said to my mum, I don't think I'm going to be good at sales. Because this was the feedback I got. And then I said, look, I need to try something else. I'm not like this extrovert salesperson. Is this for me? I was questioning myself. My mum said to me, the only thing that you can guarantee if that happens is you're going to lose. That's the one thing you can guarantee. But the world of possibility is unknown.
100%.
And if you chase that and you keep on chasing that, your dreams is to do that. I wanted to be a salesperson. And that was the thing that drove me to then get that next job, to then go and do everything I wanted to do, because I was always chasing for more.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with inheriting more, growing more, getting more, chasing more. And I believe there's always more that you can have in life, from happiness to freedom to money to success, everything.
Yeah.
And my goal since then was a trigger to just chase a better life continuously.
Yeah. I mean, this is curiosity as well, right?
Yeah.
That you're curious of the unknown, not the known. Which is, we're not guaranteed anything, right? Are we going to fail? We might. But what else is there? And if we don't go out there to get it, not curious enough.
You just won't chase.
No.
I don't like dreams. Like, for me, it's a vision. I've got a vision of myself. And my vision is this type of person, this type of business, this type of family, everything. I've got this vision. And the possibility of all of that will only happen if you go and make it happen.
Yeah. What do you make out of fear? Like what me and Rob were speaking about, fear and how it affects you.
Fear is the number one reason why an entrepreneur won't be successful. You need to take risks. You need to be a go-getter. You need to... Fear for me is something that I used to fear in my past. And I was living in the past all the time.
Yeah.
I was fearing, am I going to be that person again? But when I had the shift of, I need to focus on the present, of the change of the person I wanted to be, the transformation in my whole life, I become happier, I become more calm, more fulfilled, and the list goes on. So no one will be successful if you live in fear continuously for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, 100%. What is the advice, like in the industries you're in? Because as we all know, Sigma is like a huge tech event, right? It's a gaming event. And everyone here is either in tech, wants to be in tech, or is already made it in tech. What advice do you have for people, regardless of the industry they're in, when it comes to your industry? Because I can take your advice, even if I'm not in tech, I can take your advice, I can apply it differently at everything I do. So what advice do you want to give everyone?
To be successful in my industry, it's a list of things. It wouldn't probably just be one advice. You have to understand your product to an absolute T. So the best salespeople, the best people in my industry knew their product end to end. They was passionate about it. They'd become obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that want to do something just because it might earn their money. They might look at me of, okay, I'm successful now, but there's been a road to what I've done, and it's been passion, it's been obsession, it's been that desire to win every single day. And there's lots of people that want to get into tech consulting and consult some of the biggest companies in the world, as do we, but how much do you really want to do that? There's a difference between a want and a need. I
Yeah.
needed to create something. If you just want to be successful, you're not going to be successful. And especially within what I do, you need to have a cutting edge. That's high performance. That's focusing on you. That's separating yourself as a real, true high performer starts within you.
Yeah,
So that's
100%. What about you, Rob?
So I had time to ponder because you went first, and I was trying to think if there is only one thing I would be allowed to say about success, one thing only. So I've done nearly 1,200 episodes of Disruptors, and I've interviewed some of the most successful people on the planet. And in my 18 years, I've done all right myself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put this out there that I think this is the universal quantifier and qualifier of success. And that is that the only constant is change. So as Jamie was talking, I thought, in half an hour, we're going to be gone. In 3 days, these chairs and stands are going to be gone. In 100 years, this building is going to be gone. And in 1 billion years, all of humanity is going to be gone. And that's the only fact we know. So actually, the only constant is change. Therefore, successful people embrace change. And what that means is they don't change too quick. You know, shiny penny, shiny penny, shiny penny, shiny penny, shiny penny. That's changed too quick. But they don't wait too long to change. Post-it note was a failed glue. They're trying to fix this thing to this piece of paper. How do we get it to stick? But it's not working very well. And actually, the thing peeling off is quite useful. And they adapted to change. So right now, there's a lot of change in the world. And the people who get rich embrace and evolve and adapt and leverage change. I made my most money in 2008 and 2009, and I'll make probably my most money in 2025 and 26 when the markets change. You know, I wrote a book called Cash in a Crash.
Yeah.
So you had a gun to my head, had to choose one. It would be that the only constant is change. Get good with change.
Wow. I love that. I feel like if you do not change, you go nowhere. And this was part of my speech as well. If you're fighting change as an entrepreneur, you're not going to get anywhere because the world is evolving. Everything is changing. You can't be back in an era where it doesn't exist anymore.
I mean, for example, we just let about 16, 17 people go from our staff. I don't really like doing that. Conflict avoiding, people pleaser. You know, I find that part of business difficult. But, you know, I didn't let anyone go who wasn't really good. I didn't let anyone go who really wanted to be here. And they'll be replaced by AI. And AI is a scary proposition for a lot of people. But this is the future. If we live in the past of, you know, people wanting to sit on desks and do office jobs, then we're going to die out. So embracing AI, embracing the fact that actually my goal might not be to build 10,000 staff like it would have been 5 or 10 years ago. You know, learning new skills that you're not necessarily comfortable with learning. For example, I love long-form content. So to do a 1-minute TikTok, to me, it's just like you can't get anything out in a minute. But I had to evolve and adapt and learn shorter-form content because I can love long-form content. But if the world doesn't love long-form content, I'm going to get wiped out. And look at all these kids on TikTok going viral, like people building millions of followers in 6 months or 18 months. And, you know, us old school people used to say, oh, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. And we're holding on to that. That's the truth. Not anymore. Not anymore.
That's true. And actually, nowadays, if you look at what's happening because of technology, back in the days, to be a singer, it was so hard. There was only like a handful of them. Now, they don't even need a record deal. They collect their own royalties. They don't need a publisher. They publish their own music. Everyone is a writer. Everyone's a director. Everyone's a singer. Everyone is a content creator. Because this is what change made happen. But if you want to be stuck and you're not, like, have you seen a lot of singers, like, from the olden days? They're very aggressive and they're not doing anything new anymore because they feel stuck.
Yeah.
They cannot compete because they're not agreeing to change.
They're indoctrinated to how it was.
Exactly.
They don't know any different.
Exactly.
I've probably interviewed 20 people who've been cancelled.
Yeah.
And when I interview them, they're in this great state of fear of being cancelled. I might not be able to earn a living. I can't get my message out there. I've just been sacked from major TV and broadcasting. And I always look at them feeling so happy for them, and they don't get it. And then when I interview them a year or 2 or 3 years later, and they've got their own channel, and they're independent, and they can say what they want, and they're making their own money, and, you know, they're not controlled by a billionaire that's financing, they're free.
Yeah.
So this world of decentralization now, which we're in, where banks are decentralized, content is decentralized, currency is now decentralized, it's like so exciting. Like if you can't get excited about life and business right now in today's world, then they need to go on your healing retreat, clearly.
Facts. No, but you're right. What is your excuse? With everything available, all the opportunities, all the changes, what is the excuse for not to be out there, reaching out, doing whatever you can do? What's everyone's excuse? Because back then, when I started business, I was 15. It was hard to get a license at 15. Women were not doing business in the Middle East. What is your freaking excuse now? Yeah. Everything is available. Everything is out there. Everything is easy. What is the excuse?
I think, well, the common problem is a new one, and that's overwhelm. There was no problem of overwhelm 30 years ago. Oh, what book should I read? You just go to the library. And now there's lots more books and lots more podcasts. So I think a modern phenomenon of analysis, paralysis, and overwhelm. So I wrote a book called Start Now, Get Perfect Later. If anyone is in a bit of overwhelm or doesn't really know their next move, you just have to try something and see if it lands. But then that comes back to fear of failure. You don't try in case you fail, but if you don't try, you never succeed.
Failure tells you, actually failure is a clear, it's not a rejection, it's a redirection.
Is it even failure though?
Yeah, no. It's just this negative connotation to it, but it's not. When you're in a car, you're driving, you lose your way on Google Maps, you failed. Are you going to stop driving? When you order something online, and I ordered a chair and I received a small chair, not a big chair. Will I ever stop shopping? No, this is failure. It's not a big deal. People just make a big deal out of it. It's not. It's a learning experience.
And you said earlier about loving yourself. This is something I've struggled with my whole life. I don't really know how to do this. But what I do know is ultimately failure in the modern sense, not in the if there were a load of people running in with guns, we would need fear then. So nine times out of 10 the fear isn't real, it's modern and imagined. But I think about what am I actually scared of? I'm scared of judgment and ridicule. That's actually what it comes down to. But what does it even matter what anyone thinks?
They don't pay your bills.
They don't pay your bills?
Nope.
What does it even matter?
Everyone's
got their own problems.
Yeah, but they like you when you're up and they leave you when you're down.
Or they hate you when you're up and they love you when you're down. In Britain, we love a failure. We hate a successful person in Britain. Yeah.
I get it. Any last words from you?
No last words. No.
Okay, you know what? Describe yourself in 3 words, both of you. This is fast. Don't think. Just push it out there. 3 words.
Passionate.
Yeah.
Motivational and inspiring.
Rob, don't think. Rob, you're thinking.
How can you do that?
Just spit it out. First 3 words.
Curious.
I love it.
Random. Horny.
I'll leave it here, guys. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming on stage.